Hello, my name is Voya and welcome to My Deep Guide, and today let's talk about Boox, baby. All the things that are crappy and all the you had to learn and now you have to unlearn again. Let's talk about Boox. The first point that I wanted to address is the Note Max and seemingly lacking updates or trailing updates for Note Max, and also more concerningly, the ghosting issues which Note Max has suffered from the beginning are still present. Even though this one is also supposed to be equipped with BSR technology and all that kind of stuff, there simply seems no reason why, almost a year from having this released, still have issues of this sort on this device. While this most definitely is an issue, for me personally, it's not a big deal. Why? Well, simply because, for example, I open up a document and I see some ghosting. All I need to do is swipe from the side to refresh because I mapped a full screen refresh as a swipe gesture. And as such, I've grown used to it completely. And in all honesty, this is something that really doesn't bother me. But do I wish that it was resolved and that I didn't have to do that? Yeah, of course I do, because I want to have the best possible version of the device that I've purchased. So is it annoying? Absolutely. Is it a deal breaker? For me personally, and I know for quite a few other users as well, no, it's not, simply because it's actually really easy to get rid of. So I would much rather have that as an issue than something more drastic or impossible to solve. The latest update that Boox Note Max has received as a device was issued on the 16th of June this year. This is not really completely out of character for Boox as a company, because they typically release maybe between 4 to 6 months an update. So they don't bring out updates that often. The thing that's probably annoying a lot of users is that devices that are older than the Boox Note Max, for example, Note Air 3C, Go 10.3, have already received not just one update over this one, because this is 4.0. Note Max has not received a very important update 4.0.1, which actually resolved some of the issues with the user interface and things like that. That was never released on Note Max. And that's the point that is worrying for me, because it simply seems to be on a completely different development track than the other devices. So I completely understand the frustration, and I have that frustration as well, because if my Go 10.3 is on 4.1 already now, and it had, like, before that already had 4.0.1, and Note Max as a newer device, more premium device, is not getting any of those updates, well, yeah, that's frankly annoying. So I reached out to Boox regarding both of these issues, the update 4.1 push, when it's going to happen, what's happening with that, what's the status, and the ghosting fix. And their response is regarding the update 4.1 push. I've confirmed with the technical team that update 4.1 for Note Max is still in the adaptation and testing phase and has not been officially released yet. This is why you haven't received the push. It will be rolled out as soon as it is finalized. Unfortunately, we don't have any timeline, whether it's going to be this month, this year, next year. No clarification, no commitment whatsoever. Regarding the ghosting fix, the reply was, we are aware of the ghosting issue on the Note Max. Yes, the team is continuously evaluating solutions, and if any significant fixes are developed for this issue, we will certainly include them in a future update and communicate the details. When you boil it down, says, we're aware of the issue, but we don't know how to fix it. The problem with Note Max's refresh is a very concrete one. And that is that the deep refresh simply doesn't work. So if you go into, for example, Regal mode, and you go to deep mode, full refresh deep mode, and you go full refresh rate every single action, this device will not perform a deep refresh, as you can see. And that is the same exact behavior that it had from the beginning. I don't know if they don't know how to fix it or they don't want to fix it. I find it really difficult to believe that this can be a hardware overall encompassing issue. I don't buy it, and it doesn't really make sense. We have super fast refresh in regal mode here, but it's ghosty. I mean, as you can see, we have this, go back to an image, and we have these things. I can prove it to you that this device is absolutely capable hardware-wise to perform the deep refresh action properly. Want to see the proof? Here you go. Let's double check this so that there's no mumbo jumbo or messing about. We are in regal mode, deep refresh mode, single full refresh rate. And proper behavior should be that it performs a full screen refresh. It does blink, but we do get a lot of remnants, as we can see, for example, here. So let's go to an example that I know is going to be really bad because we have these quads here. You can see how terrible it is. If this was a hardware issue with the device, then the full screen refresh should not be able to get rid of this. Yet it does. So this device abso-freaking-lutely is capable of delivering excellent deghosting performance, but they are not willing to implement it. Why? I don't know. That response, the team is continuously evaluating solutions, and if any significant fixes are developed for this issue, we will certainly include them in a future update and communicate the details. That is simply not acceptable. So what's the best case scenario? Well, the best case scenario is that the update 4.1 rolls out and they issue the updated and fixed refresh, full screen refresh or deep refresh method on the Note Max so that it can resolve the ghosting performance. Hooray! Well, not quite, because that leads me to the second point that I wanted to talk about, and that is the update 4.1. And for that, I'm gonna have to introduce my poor old Go 10.3. Why is my Go 10.3 referred to as poor old Go 10.3 in this case? Well, because I unwittingly updated it to the update 4.1, and oh boy, let me tell you guys, it's not fun. They've actually changed the e-ink center completely, and it's no longer called e-ink center at all. It's actually called Boox e-ink wise, and it's completely different. You don't get anything new. It's just find Waldo all over again. And while it is actually nice that we have, instead of having to go to more to expose system refresh modes and then normal and speed, which was like a terrible user experience. So instead of that, we have something that makes a little bit more sense. We have less menu diving and more of the parameters exposed. We have recommended preset, fast refresh preset, and a customized preset. So all of this on the face of it is actually kind of cool. But when you start looking at it, things start to go a little bit like, So refresh mode, HD speed mode. Okay, cool. And if you switch to speed mode, now you can turn on high contrast on or off and anti-flicker. So this part makes sense, finally. Color mode, well, that's basically this. Dark color enhancement, light color filter, but now we have them called as standard and deep. And then we have custom as a preset where again you menu dive and you actually go back to the same thing as before. So now in order to actually reset this, you actually have to menu dive to get to the stuff that was exposed before, and the stuff that you had to menu dive from before is now on the surface. So effectively they've just done this. And we also have layout, original, universal, custom. That's for apps. So for example, if you're in a third-party app, this section is applicable to third-party apps. So you would expect that if they've revamped the refresh thing, that they've actually made it better for the main part, which was always a problem with NeoReader, that you can't really change the refresh mode from the e-ink center, but instead you have to navigate to the app refresh mode settings and then do it that way. Why they can't implement a dedicated, same looking user interface that actually points and automates changing of the app's specific refresh modes, but instead they have to kind of navigate you there? I have no idea, but it still hasn't been fixed because you do have now just color mode, right? Standard deep. But now we go to set its refresh settings. It just stays there. And again, it just leads you to the same place as before. But to make things worse, they've actually done the find Waldo thing again. So it's not enough of a mess. They wanted even more mess. And now you have even a toolbar there. So you have a toolbar here, have a toolbar there. So many toolbars, it's fantastic. But one of the things that I like doing is to have contrast control and adjustment of image control by simply going to contrast, and I have all of my bold, sharpen image, watermark bleaching, dark color enhancement, and image smoothing. Conveniently, they've removed that completely. And basically then you start paying attention to this whole thing, and then you start realizing, oh my god, they've just made it much worse. What the hell was this toolbar? Well, it was this. It's these options. See? They're gone. And it's gone. We have contents, progress, style. Okay, cool. We're all the same here. Oh no, we're not. It's all changed here as well. So we have presets now, and everything's exactly the same. It's just that all of it has been rearranged. And where are most of the options? Well, in this cogwheel here. So if you go into the cogwheel, then you will be able to see things that are now under a submenu instead of being previously exposed here. So we're introducing additional steps and additional points of confusion, because this requires a seasoned Boox user to completely relearn everything about it, and not to find new functionalities, but just to be able to find the existing functionalities. This is like a psychological experiment. So then you get to the point like, okay, we got layout, split view. Hey, okay, at least split view is there, but we have refresh now. Is that a full screen refresh? No, that's actually just the menu refresh. Where is it previously? Well, previously it was buried in a menu, so you had to go more and then refresh. All right, fair enough. That is an okay thing to have. What about the contrast and navigation? Where did they go? Well, if you go to layout now you're gonna have to really hunt things around. So what is layout? Well, layout is basically navigation, but changed. So we have comic mode. Hey, there we go, comic mode. We have article mode, article mode. Instead of having helpful little icons that tell you exactly what it is, now you have just text boxes that don't show anything. And they don't tell you anything at all. Reflow? Extract text. That would be reflow. So you know what PDF reflow is. Now it's called extract text. Okay, then you go to more on the old one, and then you have like, okay, so you have these helpful options, whereas when you go to custom, you have to double tap, and then you will have the helpful options, except that everything has been rearranged. And don't panic if you have your towel. If you don't have your towel, then panic. And remember 42. Crop is now called pages. Columns are now called blocks. And the direction is now called order. It's exactly the same stuff, except they've renamed it and repositioned it for maximum amount of confusion that is humanly possible to impose on an innocent user. But wait a minute, where do I find my image smoothing and contrast settings? Well, you remember style, where we had all of these kinds of things? Well, you have this little button, you know, the cogwheel, the settings, and then you go there, and there we finally have the image sharpening, watermark, bleaching, and image smoothing. I'm not gonna go through everything, but this is the first spice of the 4.1. The second one is unfortunately in notebooks. Look at it. Look at it. Why? Why would you change the main icon here to this? What is this? It's a Pac-Man. Oh no, it's not a Pac-Man. You have enter, edge unfolding mode, collapse toolbar, hide toolbar. Look at how ugly this is when it's hidden, as opposed to this. What was wrong with this? This was excellent. Instead, we get this. And not only that, you are no longer allowed to get to the very edge. Something that was perfectly normal and possible to do previously. You can no longer do it. And of course, let's make it more complicated. One tap to hide it. You can collapse the toolbar, or you can hide the toolbar. Enter Edge Unfolding Mode. You know what that is? Edge Unfolding Mode? That was full screen, here. You know, the normal thing? Yeah, it's no longer called full screen. It's there. And you do get a hint of it. They still have the same type of icon there. Nothing really has dramatically changed. It's just change for change's sake and making things worse. I implore you, do not update to 4.1 before checking out what they've changed, because the first impressions of this are horrendous. So then I circle back to the first question, which was, all right, so Note Max receives update 4.1 and it contains the fix for the ghosting. What do you do? I would rather take ghosting than all of the stuff that I'm seeing on the Go 10.3 at the moment. I wish that I've never updated to 4.1 on my Go 10.3, but unfortunately I have. The thing that is even worse is that the brand new devices, you don't have that choice. For example, Note Air 5C comes with 4.1 pre-installed, and you don't have an option to have the normal version of the OS prior to this. And the last point that I wanted to address is regarding the Note Air 5C and the problem with the pen and the volume button. For those who are saying that this is not an issue, is this not an issue? Or, for example, let's open up another document. This is not an issue, right? This is by design? Okay. Addressing the question whether or not if you just flip it around, does it help? You tell me. Does this help? This is still not an issue, right? We're just imagining this as a problem. Yeah, this is real. This is what's happening right now. This is designed and released to the public. The brand new design and the brand new pen. This is what it looks like. Seriously, no one even tested this. It is impossible to miss. And this is a deal breaker. All right, well, and actually when you release the pen, it doesn't matter because it's remembered all of the commands. So for example, if I just leave it like this and it starts doing its thing, and even if I remove the pen, it's going to continue doing this simply because it remembered how far ahead of time it needed to go, and then it's going to finish its thing. So Boox actually reached out to me preemptively after seeing me expose this issue in my first look of the Note Air 5C, and what they said is the following. To ensure the strongest hold, we recommend guiding the pen tree to the lower section of the side edge, right near the volume button, right here. That's the strongest spot for a secure, tight connection, ! We hope this little tip helps clear up the magnetic experience. Really now, this is the strongest spot for a secure, tight connection? This is strongest spot for magnetic connection? Not this one? Not this one that presses the button but doesn't really let the pen drop? It's not that one? No? All right, let's put that claim to the test. Let's measure it. All right, the beauty of Note Max is that you can actually use it as a working surface as well. So how am I going to measure this? Well, it's actually quite simple. I have a scale here, and I'm going to put the pen in what I think is the proper position. And then I'm just going to let the device sit here. And what I'm going to do, so where you go, it's 460 something. So I'd say, yeah, something like that. I'm going to start to lift very gently and try not to let the device fall and see what's the minimum weight that we're able to kind of get before the pen lets go. So right now I'm lifting, we have 133. Okay, let's try again. See if we can get lower than that. 140. Let's try one more time. Okay, carefully. 120. Oh, there we go, 85. I think that I saw 85. So that is with the incorrect position, right? The one that's by Boox saying this is not correct. You are confused. Yeah, so we need to clarify these things. So what they're saying is that this is not the strongest spot for secure tight connection. This is the strongest spot for the tight connection, the one that doesn't interfere with the button. All right, let's do this. So let's see, 460-ish, so we have the same thing. Let's start lifting. 290 to 260. Let's try again. 246. Okay. 243. 288. That is an incorrect claim. Whether it is intentional or not, I will let you be the judge of that. But don't let anyone try to convince you that this thing that has happened with the Note Air 5C and the new pen is anything other than a massive cock-up. It would be much better for Boox to actually own up and do proper damage control of a cock-up like this than to try and gaslight everyone else by saying, oh, no, you're confused. This is not the strongest one. This one here is the strongest one. This is what we meant to do. That is not true. But to get a little bit more constructive here, yeah, if you're using Note Air 5C, which definitely has so many strong points, that's why it's so infuriating that it has such a stupid cock-up. What you can do is that what mitigates things a little bit is if you're using it in the cover and in that lower position, then the extending edge of the cover actually helps. And it's not going to be perfect. It's still going to be very easy for it to kind of fall down because it has this stupid thing on the side. The other stuff that was also mentioned was, hey, then you can just take off the pen cover and yeah, use it like that. If you don't want this, yeah, sure, you can do that, and then it works without any problems. The issue with that is that it's ugly. There is no other issue than that because it doesn't really interfere with yeah, with the edge here. So yeah, that's something that you could try and do. Maybe some people will be able to kind of, I don't know, modify it. So for now, the non-destructive thing is not use the cap. The destructive thing would be to try and maybe Dremel out the edge here to create a concave, yeah, deepening for, yeah, to accommodate for the power buttons, and then it would work. What would be the proper course of action for Boox to actually do regarding this? What, in my opinion? Well, in my opinion, first of all, they need to recognize it, that this is a mistake, and they need to start working on it. They need to stop trying to gaslight people. The second part is that instead of actually, you know, reissuing the whole pen, the problem is only in this cover, and the problem actually can be solved if you create a new cap that has that concave solution that allows for the buttons to actually go in there. And then the proper course of action would be to send the replacement cap free of charge once it's fixed to all existing users of the Note Air 5C. That or something to that effect that resolves the issue and addresses the concerns and those affected by purchasing this device, that would be the correct course of action, in my opinion. I'm gonna see how this video turns out in the editing phase, because the raw recording included a lot of ranting. Granted, I feel a lot better and it was a therapeutic experience for me, but I don't want to download all of the stuff onto you. So I'm going to try and kind of condense it all into something that's cohesive, useful, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm sorry if it turns out to be a little bit ranty, but what I'm not sorry about is all the stuff that is covered in this video and raising it to this level, because I think it's well deserved. And these are by no means all of the issues that are plaguing Boox as a platform and Boox as a company. And the thing that kind of spilled it over for me was the official response and how they addressed this debacle. To try and gaslight users, me, you, everybody, and say like, no, you're confused. You just didn't figure out how to use the magnet sting properly. Let us tell you what is proper. That ain't gonna fly. So hopefully I've managed to kind of share some of the information, maybe something useful. If I managed to do that, and if you found the video informative and or useful, then I'm happy. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and see you in the next video. Bye.